Hey, what's up guys? It's Jake aka Tag, and today we're back at it again with the mission to get better with 2.9 XBOW. This is the deck that I hit 20 wins with. This is the deck that we love, and it has been around for quite a while. We have Crafter here, who is currently number 4 in the world, and he is always at the top of the ladder with 2.9 XBOW. So let's unravel some of his secrets and some of his pro tips that made him so solid at this deck. As you guys can see, we have quite the selection of replays. We have a game against IMJP from CRL. We have the best P.E.K.K.A player in the entire world. We're playing against him with XBOW, so let's go jump right into that one as our very first one. So kicking off this game, he has Skeletons, Log, Ice Spirit, and Fireball. Pretty good selection, because if you end up having an XBOW, you never really want to go in for that. As your starting play, you can just get shut down by a Giant or a Golem straight to the face. So he's going to go cycle Skeletons in the back, save his Ice Spirit. Ice Spirit's going to go on top of the Barbarian, so it doesn't get any hits on the tower. And then he immediately goes in for an XBOW. So he's going to play a little bit aggressive because his opponent ended up using the Bar Barrel, and that's usually the best possible counter to the XBOW in this meta. And in future metas, Bar Barrel will always be the best one. Even with Earthquake, the Barbarian Barrel is always going to be the best thing. So Bar Barrel comes down again, he cycles the Bar Barrel, and now Crafter knows, hey, you just cycled your Bar Barrel again, I can go in for an XBOW and you're not going to have that in cycle. You've made a pretty big overcommitment. So that's really good for Crafter there. And he already identifies knowing what Ivan's running, because you know that Ivan's always going to end up running P.E.K.K.A. It's his best deck. So we're going to see what he does if he splits the archers or if he goes in for an XBOW. He could go in for the XBOW. He could also split archers. Looks like he's just going to go split the archers. He knows that Bar Barrel is out of cycle, but he knows that P.E.K.K.A is also in cycle. So he doesn't want to get P.E.K.K.A straight to the face when he doesn't have distraction units. He doesn't have the Ice Spirit. He doesn't have the Skeletons. Not a good decision. So he's going to go for Skeletons to go and block and make sure that his archer does not get decapitated by that bandit. So it was really well played there. Electro Wizard's going to come down, and the Ram Rider is just going to go log that in Fireball. He tried to hit the Electro Wizard. If he did hit the Electro Wizard, he would have actually sustained some damage on his opponent's tower. But he got a ton of damage early on already. So he's basically in a situation where he could Fireball out his opponent if he really wanted to. But I want to see what he's going to do here. So right now, he's actually down 1 elixir in a phenomenal situation where he doesn't even have any tower damage on the left-hand side. So if you guys want to play very defensive and you say you've already taken a tower against a P.E.K.K.A player, you just drop your XBOW in a placement where it's not hit by the poison. So basically like vertically in front of the tower that has more HP. And if you do that placement, it can't get hit by poison on the opposite side. So that's really solid. So he's going to end up going for Tesla. One of the things that I want to highlight in his gameplay right now is notice how many times he goes in for Tesla on offense where he doesn't use the Tesla to counteract the Ram Rider. He's going to be using Log, he's going to be using Archers, and he's going to be using Ice Spear and Skeletons to counteract the Ram Rider in a lot of scenarios where other people would just end up using a Tesla. And because of that, it frees up his Tesla for offensive purposes, and it allows him to get away with so much more. So yeah, he's going to go Log here. He's going to drop Archers. Logging is pivotal. If you don't log the Bar Barrel, it's going to stay on top of your XBOW, and it's going to sustain so much more damage. So a lot of times for me and other pro players that end up running XBOW, especially Crafter and people that are way better, like Crafter, Dank Gannon, Air Surfer, they'll continuously only go in for XBOWs when they have Log or Ice Spirit or Skeletons to redirect. So basically log the Bar Barrel back, then drop Skeletons, Ice Spirit, then drop Skeletons. There's a lot of ways of counteracting the Bar Barrel, and that's one of the things that you're going to see time and time again. But look, he's not afraid. He's really not afraid. He's like, yo, you can go in for the Ram Rider. I'm just going to go Fireball. I'm going to drop Skeletons. I have very healthy tower. I can even log here and make sure you don't get a hit. So another cool interaction is if your XBOW is targeting the Ram Rider on the opposite side. Say they drop the Ram Rider at the other side of the river after you already dropped the Tesla. If you drop Skeletons, Ice Spirit, and the XBOW is targeting the Ram Rider, you don't have to do anything else. The Ram Rider is just going to die. Make sure that you always drop your Ice Spirit before you drop your Skeletons as well. And if you do that, that makes sure that the Ram Rider targets the Ice Spirit and not the Skeletons. It doesn't kill the Ice Spirit before the Ice Spirit jumps on top of the Ram Rider, so that's super, super important as well. He's going to continuously log to make sure that the P.E.K.K.A does not end up hitting the XBOW, and as a result, by pushing it back, Log is a very fast, cheap cycle card, so he can get back to Skeletons, and he can get back to distraction things so the P.E.K.K.A doesn't get a hit. He also gets chip damage. It's multifaceted and multi-purposed right there. So that was extremely well played by Crafter right there. So everything that he's been doing is just extremely high level, and that's the XBOW placement that I was talking about earlier. If you just want to play defensive, that is the placement. It's not going to be able to get poisoned. So he already knows. Ivan's like, yo, what do I do here? This situation is absolutely horrible. He's playing this perfectly. And this is, I'm really glad that he did that placement because I wouldn't have been able to like physically show it without that. So yeah, he's going to be splitting Archer, so then there's no poison value, very solid. He can basically like log cycle at this point. And the reason he's going to start log cycling instead of fireball cycling is because a fireball is a hefty elixir investment. It's going to be 4 elixir, and he could be easily overrun by a P.E.K.K.A, Baby Dragon, spam push. But if he goes in for logs until it's in fireball range or 2 fireballs, then he can actually make sure that he's not going to lose control of the game. So that's another really good thing. If the tower's at like 900, just start logging them out until you feel comfortable to fireball them. So yeah, it's just pro plays all around by Crafter. There's a lot of things that you guys can pick up from this game. There's actually big thing for me for improving my own game is a lot of times I end up using my Tesla too often on defense, and if I use it too often on defense, I'm not able to save it for offense, and I'm just netting negative elixir trades when I could be netting much more positive ones and just playing way more aggressive. And the next awesome game that we're going to be jumping into is against IMJP. So IMJP is chilling here with Bard Barrel, Miner, Snowball, Ice Golem, Lumberjack, Balloon, and Musketeer. All phenomenal counters to XBOW. I guess the Snowball isn't really, but everything else, Musketeer can DPS from a range. Lumberjack is phenomenal at just killing things, so then you're able to get on top of the XBOW. Ice Golem is a great tank opposite lane, not into the Tesla. Miner kills XBOW and distracts. Balloon obviously can kill XBOW very easily as well. And Bard Barrel is the hardest counter in the entire game to XBOW. So IMJP has a very good matchup again. So I want to see how Crafter actually navigates this. So he sees Lumberjack. Whenever I see Lumberjack as an XBOW player, I notice, hey, if they drop Lumberjack at the start or a 4 elixir unit that's indicative of Golem, then I'm always going to rush opposite lane, because if they drop that, they're not going to have enough elixir to drop their Golem. 4 elixir is too much in single elixir, and if they try to drop Golem, the Expo locks onto the tower, and then you're able to get critical amount of damage and definitely just win the game and then defend from that point on. So that's exactly what Crafter was thinking in that situation. And also in double elixir, do not do that. They drop a 4 elixir unit. Obviously, they'll have enough elixir for 8, and then they'll be able to drop the Golem right in your face, and then the Expo shut down. So only in single elixir do you do that crazy play of just going Expo opposite lane as soon as you see the Lumberjack. So again, he just goes in. He's like, yo, we got this. Notice this play. This play is really, really solid. A lot of people I know would go in for a Tesla there, but fireballing allows to push back the Balloon, and then also you're going to get a lot more Expo damage there, and then you save the Tesla on defense for any other type of spam that your opponent has. So I really like that play. I love that fireball, and he was able to get absurd amount of value. He doesn't even Tesla after, knowing that the Archer plus the tower plus the fireball is fine. So if you guys didn't know, Archer plus the Expo is also going to be pretty good too with Ice Spirit, if you guys don't have anything else. Assuming there's no tank for the Balloon, of course. So he is actually going to be going in for another Miner and Bats, and this is absolutely horrible for Crafter. IMJP is a phenomenal player, recognizing his advantage there, and ended up just making sure that his opponent had to go in for a fireball on Bats for 2 elixir. So he's going to go in for another Expo, playing super, super aggressive, dropping Ice Spirit in the back. I really like that play as well. Notice how that Ice Spirit froze the Lumberjack and it froze the Balloon. Not just one of them. Tesla here is going to be great as well, just to make sure that the Balloon doesn't get a hit. Notice this Tesla later on, how much utility this thing gets. And it's really crazy how much value Teslas get over time in double elixir, because more units are on the map. Because there's more elixir, obviously more units will be dropped, and therefore buildings, because their duration expires over time, will be able to get more value in double elixir because there's going to be more units for them to kill. So yeah, the Tesla is just going to be great, and obviously you want to stack Teslas more often in double elixir than in single, because you can drop it a little bit more successfully. Unfortunately, the Expo goes right into the Musketeer, but the Fireball log is able to swiftly kill that, and yeah, swiftly kill it and really make magic happen. You guys really want to do that against 2.6 as well. A lot of people will be dropping their Musketeers and Ice Golems to counteract their the Expo, and if you guys can get a Fireball on top of the Musketeer and the Ice Golem, it's really, really good. And I think that's a little bit more of a common matchup, so I wanted to make sure that we sauce that in there and make sure that you guys know Fireball the Musketeers and Ice Golems so that you can break through. Ice Spirit coming down again, and he's continuously going the same lane, and he's not really that afraid. If you guys have been seeing how aggressively he's been Expoing, as you get better and better with Expo, you're going to play a lot more aggressive. So then, because you're very capable and confident in your defensive capabilities, then you're able to play aggressive. So it's a lot about progression, and if you make mistakes when you're playing Expo, guys, it's okay. This is one of the hardest decks in the game. If you make misplays, you will get better. And study this gameplay, look at it a little bit more, look at these pro tips, like how he's catching the miners on the outside, because it's pretty obvious that, hey, the most common placement is on the outside. Make sure that you always drop your Ice Spirit Skeletons there. It also evades Barb Barrels, and usually Barb Barrels are dropped in the right down the middle. So if you drop an Ice Spirit or Skeletons off to the corner in that placement that he was dropping, a lot of times it just won't be hit. So yeah, I really like how Crafter's been playing this. He's logging again, very, very aggressive with his logs. You saw in the last game against Pekka. You see it here again. He's cycling log just to swipe off miners and swiping off bar barrels, so then he can successfully get that expo lock, and that expo lock is so much more value than a log would ever be. So he's going to go in with a Lumberjack, Ice Golem, and a lot of spam again. And if Crafter can somehow defend this Expo, then he's going to be in a brilliant position to counter push, because then the Expo defends the other Expo, and then if you drop a Lumberjack, it's going to get damaged down by the other Expo. So it's really solid to already have a defensive Expo on the map and then counter push. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to defend it there. I know he wanted to be able to, because then the Musketeer and Lumberjack would just get slaughtered. In a lot of situations, if you guys are able to do that and they don't have a big spell, a lot of times you just want to go in for defensive Expos and then a big Expo, because they can't kill it from afar ever. Unfortunately, with Barb Barrel, it's not really a issue for IMJP, so Crafter's just trying to get a lot of chip damage cumulatively. So in this situation, 1000 HP at max ladder, it's kind of fireball cyclable, so I'm kind of waiting to see if he's going to do it. Yeah, he's going to start going for fireballs. Now it's going to be 2 fireballs and 2 logs away. So he's going to end up going for a log here. And we're going to see what he wants to do. He's going to go for Skeletons right on top of the Musketeer, so the Musketeer does not damage down the Tesla. And he keeps the Tesla alive, man. So when you do that, the game is pretty much over. Because since the Tesla's already on the map, it's not going to decay. You can start cycling fireballs, and then you can win the game. That's something that is really, really crucial. If you're able to keep an Inferno Tower alive with 3.0 Minor Poison, with the Valkyrie, or if you're able to keep a Tesla alive with this deck, it gives you so much more leniency to cycle fireballs and logs, because if they spam you, you already have something on the map to kill anything. So that's another really good thing. A lot of people are asking me, when do you fireball cycle, or when do you know that to log cycle your opponent? You guys can definitely do that way more frivolously when you have a Tesla or you have a defensive Expo on the map that survived after already defending a push, because you're going to be up Elixir, and if they spam you, they just won't be successful at all. So Crafter played really, really well in that game, and I just learned a lot and was able to identify that you can play super, super aggressive if you're able to keep the defensive Teslas alive. I think that his Teslas are the thing that set him apart from most 2.9 XBOW players. I think that's the biggest thing that I've noticed. So let's go jump into our very last game, Crafter versus Uppercut. Uppercut is going to be rocking Bridge Spam, one of the most detested decks by XBOW players, because, you know, he has a lot of tanks. He's going to end up having the Bandit, the Prince, the Battle Ram, and the Ice Golem. And he's also going to have the Musketeer to range out the Expo and DPS it down from a distance. So a very difficult matchup here. I want to see how Crafter crafts his Elixir advantage to win this matchup. So right out of the gate, you end up seeing an Expo, and you see a Tesla in the starting hand. He never does that. No one in their right mind playing 2.9 Expo goes in for an Expo at the start of the game. It's just not how you play, because a lot of times you can just lose. So he's going to go split his archers. Splitting archers allows him to accommodate either lane, able to defend either side. And then also on top of that, he's able to go in for an Expo, have an archer supporting that. Very, very well played on his end. Another thing that I want to highlight right there, notice how he defends that with just Skeletons. He defends a Bandit with just Skeletons. If you guys want to go look at that pro tip or trick, it's definitely been in my pro tip and trick series, and it's also been on my Instagram. So if you guys want to make sure that you guys are going to be able to see a lot of pro tips and tricks, check out my Instagram. It's SirTagCR. And obviously, Crafter knows all this stuff. He is way better than me. He is insanely good, and his mechanics are incredibly solid. So just wanted to highlight that right there. If you guys know how to defend against a Bandit with just Skeletons, +2 trade, and you guys will definitely be able to feel way more menacing Expos, because your opponent will be down Elixir. He went in for a Fireball right on top of the Ice Golem and the Musketeer, something that you guys will see time and time again, no matter the matchup. Whenever you see an Ice Golem and a Musketeer, whether it's 2.6, that funky balloon deck that we just witnessed, or this Bridge Spam deck, you will always see the Fireball on the Musketeer and the Ice Golem, because it's going to be a valued Elixir trade, allowing you to lock on with Expo. So Crafter right here is not going to end up going in for an Expo. He's not going to frivolously go cycle an Ice Golem and then go for an Expo. He's going to wait, because he was actually down a little bit of Elixir. He now sees minions, and he saw a Snowball cycled. Those minions are cycling right into Archers. The Snowball was cycled on the tower, gave absolutely no value. His opponent just donated 5 Elixir because he had to cycle. So Crafter then goes in for the Expo. A lot of times Crafter does not go in for Expos when he's down Elixir. He doesn't go in for Expos when he knows that his opponent's going to end up having a Prince, a Bandit, and a Battle Ram end cycle, because he's not going to be able to break through. He waits for an opportunity, he seizes it, then he goes in for the Expo. Another thing that I really want to talk about again, this is exactly how he played the very first game against Ivan with the P.E.K.K.A player. He basically ends up going for these off-center Teslas, but he drops it on purpose. He drops it in that placement because he knows that he can kite anything opposite lane. If it's a Prince, a Bandit, he can just kite it right into the Tesla. If it's a Battle Ram, doesn't matter. He's just going to defend it with Skeletons, Ice Spirit, Log, and Archers if he needs to. It's really, really simple, and it's awesome. I love how Crafter plays it, and I am definitely going to be incorporating that. I'm not going to be waiting and dropping a whole bunch of defensive Teslas anymore, because these matchups are actually quite winnable if you have really solid mechanics and you know exactly what to do. You just don't drop your Tesla on defense all the time because you're netting negative elixir traits and you're squandering a lot of opportunities that you could possibly get on offense. The Tesla placement right there is going to be able to defend the Expo, and it's also not going to be able to get damaged down by a Musketeer. I really, really wanted to highlight that as well. One of the misplays that you'll see a lot of people do when they're running any type of 2.9 or even the 3.0 ISPO deck, I'm not sure if it's 3.0 actually, but yeah, if they're running that, they'll end up dropping like a lot of units and just try to defend an Expo and overcommit. You don't really want to do that. A lot of times, if you're able to end up defending the Expo with minimal units, and if your opponent overcommits and they drop units like, say, into an Ice Wizard or a Tesla on defense, then you can definitely cycle back to another Expo and just win the game. So I really like that Crafter is continuously getting value out of his Teslas. And notice there, he ended up keeping that Tesla alive. Now his opponent can't spam him. He can't go for a Battle Ram opposite lane because it's going to go right into a Tesla. What are you going to do, man? He's going to go in for a pre-log, and he ends up not ending up hitting anything else, but he ends up knocking back the Prince, and he would have actually just won the game there if Uppercut had not went in for a pre-snowball. Uppercut's a phenomenal player, top 10 in the world right at this point of recording. So yeah, he's not going to make any misplays. If you guys lose to a Bridge Spam player, it's really, really cool because now you know, hey, if I lose to Bridge Spam, I actually have no business losing that because I'm looking at Crafter playing against the best player in the world right now with Bridge Spam, and it's like, okay, if the two best players at their respective decks, deck specialists right now at the top ladder, are playing this matchup and it's actually quite even, it's not actually a hard counter. I can play better. I can improve. So that's really reassuring for a lot of people that are having issues with Bridge Spam. If you incorporate these tips into your gameplay and you lose because you make mechanical misplays, that's fine because you know that you can have something to improve. And as long as you have the strategic template laid out in front of you, then there's a definite room for improvement. You're not going to feel lost. You'll know why you misplayed. And it's really cool that Crafter has provided us these tips and this resource to improve. So I really appreciate that, man. So again, he's going to end up dropping an Ice Golem. Unfortunately, the Ice Golem was not able to be timed there to distract all of the Barbarians. Usually you want to allow the Battle Ram to connect to the tower. And if you let the Battle Ram to connect, then you drop the Ice Golem immediately right after. And then it starts loading, the Barbarians load, and they attack the Ice Golem instead of the tower. One of the Barbarians would usually attack the tower if it's later. So that's why he had to drop Skeletons. That's why he had to drop Ice Spirit. You can actually get away with just an Ice Golem there if the timing is absolutely immaculate and you get it down right. So Bandit, yet again, not going to end up hitting the tower because the Archers are in the middle, allowing both towers to DPS down the Bandit really quickly. And time again, guys, you're always going to see him trying to keep the Teslas alive, drop an Ice Golem, and now he's going to Fireball cycle. He is so skillful with the Fireball and Spell cycle. A lot of times when you're watching Carnage, Dank Ganon, Crafter, Air Surfer, top Expo players in the world, playing their respective deck, they will always Spell cycle. It's kind of crazy how their defense ends up turning into Spell cycle at the very end. And because of the 2.9 cycle, it's incredibly easy to do that if you have great mechanics. So Crafter has played this super, super well. And honestly, guys, I'm incredibly impressed, and I have a lot to take away from this, and I know for certain my biggest thing that I was impressed by was the Tesla placements and the aggressive tendencies of Crafter. So I'm definitely going to be incorporating that into my gameplay. Thank you, Crafter, for coming on the channel. Also, he wanted to give a shout out for everyone that ended up watching him and supporting him on his ladder pushes. And again, a huge shout out to Crafter. His Twitter will be down below in the pinned comment and in the description of the video. If you guys enjoyed this content, make sure to sauce me a fat thumbs up. If you guys are new to the channel and you also enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe for future content just like this. And be sure to let me know down below in the comment section what pro and what deck archetype you guys want to see in our next deep dive into Deck Masters. So thanks for watching, thanks for chilling with me, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Peace out.